Kool-Aid, a little slightly off topic here.
Yes, sir.
But we're getting into basketball. So hypothetically, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green become available to the Pistons. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have Klay Thompson or Draymond Green?
Man, part of me wants to go the defensive thing and say, you know what? We need the toughness. We need the defense. We need what Draymond can bring. But the Pistons need shooting. We kind of talked about it, and you guys are right, in my opinion. It's just a matter is Klay going to be that consistent shooter, or is he going to be another Bojan Bogdanovic if you bring him in here? And that's my one worry. I do believe that if you bring in Draymond, he will be able to give you something of value on the defensive end. I don't know what he's going to give you shooting-wise. Don't know what he's going to give you if he wants to over-dribble the ball. So I don't know, man. Part of me.
No, bro.
I got to.
Bro, you're a basketball guy. Draymond coming in would make this team that much worse at shooting. We cannot be getting worse at shooting the basketball. It has nothing to do with Michigan State.
What happens if Klay Thompson comes in here and he lays a dud from behind the arc? He's not contributing anything else.
Klay, okay, he's not as quick as he once was. He's lost a step. He was once one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. He knows how to do it.
A long time ago.
Maybe he can coach up Asar, coach up Marcus Sasser. Maybe not for the money that the contract he probably signed, but I see where you're going.
For the sake of shooting, though, man, it's a great question. Yeah. It is a great question because I want to be able to say, Klay, I want to be able to believe that he'll come in here and he'll be that guy from behind the arc. Maybe not what he once was, but somebody can come in here and be a consistent 37% three-point shooter. What you think about that question, KG?
Man, can I say neither?
I mean, would you rather? You know the rules.
You would say no to Klay?
You know the rules.
And I mean, at this point in their careers, it's like, no, maybe 5 to 6 years ago, I'd be jumping over joy for either one of them. But you look at Draymond, yes, defensively, he'd be great, but this is the last thing this team needs is more non-shooting, defensive playing, bigger people. And Klay, he's just a shell of himself, man. I'm sorry. He's not the same Klay Thompson that we once knew. The injury kind of just, it took the last of his ability to put the ball on the floor and things of that nature. And he's not as consistent from three as he once was. So I'm good on both of them, actually, man. I think there's better options out there, just being real.
There's far better options out there,
just being real.
But you already know the Pistons got a boatload of money. And as you would have been jumping for joy for either one of those guys 3 or 4 years ago, I'm sure one of those guys are jumping for joy for the Detroit Pistons and say, you know what? Take this cash, come over here. Those are not the stars that we're talking about when we say, you know what? Go out there and find like all-star level or all-star type players. Those are not those guys.
And maybe if this team was further along, I'd be more on board with a Klay or Draymond move, but they are just not there right now. We need to find our identity. We need to figure out who is going to be here, a part of this core long term.
Yeah. That right there is the crucial aspect of it. And it sucks because this past year was supposed to be the assessment for that.
Yeah.
So it's like, is Trajan Langdon and Co. entering into this season looking to start that all over again? You got that Monty Williams graphic just so we can for the people.
Yeah, give me 1 second
before Monty Williams. For the Monty Williams one, let's just to reset it. Let's talk about the Fred Vinson news just real quick. For the Woodward Pistons fan as well.
Of course.
Yeah, that graphic should be up next. Oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah, Fred Vinson is joining Monty Williams' Detroit Pistons staff as an assistant coach. I wanted to be able to put this one on first because it instantly sent kind of social media a buzz, Pistons fans a buzz, like, yo, so does that mean that the assessment of Monty Williams that Trajan Langdon was going to do, does that mean that Monty Williams is staying? And then that next graphic with Monty Williams on it, we got the breaking news that via Mark Stein that Monty Williams is going to be retained by the Detroit Pistons. That should be the next graphic on there, bro. Yeah.
Oh, got to fix that one up still. Yeah.
That's a big Monty.
Full Monty. But no, we can go back to the K one because where this thing starts, and we're going to do an off-season kickoff. I know that the NBA draft is next Wednesday, next Thursday. The Woo Crew is going to be running the show. In the years past, I've had different cast of characters help me with the Woodward Pistons kind of NBA draft coverage. This year, we're doing an all-out kind of off-season kickoff. We got to get this thing right, man.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be asking all of the questions at the press conference and trying to make things work. But where this thing starts is right here with this guy, Cade Cunningham. And Rasheed Wallace had some big words to say about Cade. He said, I F with Cade. I really like him because he's a big point, as in point guard. As we always say about Scotty, and I believe that's Pippen, and Edwards and Luka, or maybe he's talking about Scotty Barnes. He said he's a point forward. I like the comparison. Everything starts here. Just like with the hypothetical when we talk about Draymond and Klay. If you had to pick one, naturally you'd pick one you believe compared with Cade Cunningham. And that's where this thing needs to start. Whether you're assessing this thing as it relates to what you're going to take in the draft, free agency, or what's already on the roster, I'm hoping that assessment is taking place right now.
Yeah.
You can't go into a whole nother season where you're like, you know what? Let's try and figure out what we got in these young players. Especially if you're bringing back Amani Williams, who openly declared during the start of training camp last season that this is not a roster that he's comfortable coaching. It's not one that he's used to. Whether he's looking to say, you know what, let me at this stage of my career going ahead and try and make this thing work now. Maybe go in here right now in my career and try and change my philosophies and change my style of coaching. I just don't see him necessarily doing that personally. So I do believe that this is a situation where you want to be able to get this thing off the ground and running the right way sooner rather than later. Not that you want to rush Trajan Langdon's process, but why run back what we just saw this previous season?
Do you look at, with the two teams in the finals right now, are they a blueprint to anything that the Pistons should be trying to do? We talk about Cade and Luka, the comparison here from Rasheed Wallace. Do they need to go look in the Kyrie type of realm? Obviously, nobody's like Kyrie, but that type of, playmaking, scoring point guard, or do you go the true team route, the Boston route, where you got Cade, whether he's Jason Tatum or 1B and Jaylen Brown, however you want it, whoever is the 1A or 1B, and then put these really good, perfect fits around them with Kristaps, with Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard and Jrue Holiday, which I would have loved on the Pistons last year, but nonetheless, what route do you take, or what do you pull from the two teams in the finals this year?
Yeah, it's the identity. KG said it earlier. The identity of the players that the Boston Celtics have: defense, rebounding, hustling, kind of giving that little bit of an extra edge on defense, not really afraid if they get a foul, making sure that they're not giving up and ones. Bro, the Detroit Pistons gave up some and ones last year. That's kind of the identity that I would like the Detroit Pistons to be able to adopt. And it's not one that we are, that we're like unfamiliar with, because it's what the identity of every winning Detroit Pistons team.
Yes.
That's what we want out of them. And that's what I like more. Like you can say a lot about the offense of the Boston Celtics, but more than anything, seeing how their defense has made a huge difference in the series, honestly, I just sit back and I'm just like, yo, I remember that. It's like, what I mean? It's like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's just pointing like, bro, I really remember that. Like, I remember those times here in Detroit. I wanted to get back to that way. They stepped out there in the court and we knew, even if the Pistons going to score 85 back in that day, they're still going to win 85 to like 70.
Yeah.
I want that identity back on this Detroit Pistons.
You remember that feeling almost more than individual games.
Yeah, it was funny. Knowing like everybody pregame is talking. It didn't matter if it was regular season, playoffs, finals. The Pistons ain't going to be able to score. The Pistons aren't going to be able to score. The Pistons aren't going to be able to score. And knowing, sitting back, just chuckling as a fan, as a young fan, knowing you don't know what defense is. It's like y'all lost some aspect of what the game is. They were going there in vice grip teams, and it was beautiful basketball.
Well, everyone on the outside talks about their inability to score. The teams that they're playing in the 24 hours leading up to playing those Pistons teams, they are with the trainers. They are taking their vitamins. They're getting massage. They're doing anything they can to be as rested as possible, because whenever you were going up against those Pistons teams, it was war for 48 minutes. Yeah. It was the worst game of your season, the most miserable game to play. You come into Detroit, or Detroit comes into your house, you have to be ready for war. And with this Detroit team, people come into this house and they bench their star players.
Yeah, and then those bench players are coming in and popping off for 30 points, 20 points, 40 points. Their third and fourth tier players are coming in. Like Desmond Bain dropped 40, 50 points on us here. Like that was crazy to watch. We were all sitting there saying, when we were trying to figure out which one of these games is going to break the streak, when they were on that long historic losing streak, Desmond Bain came in here and said, I don't know why y'all penciled us on your calendar just because John Moran's out. And he dropped a bucket on our heads, man. It was crazy to be able to see something like that. And it's just like, you know what? If they had a little bit more of an identity, a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of a flair, and sometimes that does have to be taught. It does. A lot of times players are worried about fouls, they're worried about trying to play the game the right way. And sometimes playing the game the right way is your coach being able to put you in a position to have that right amount of edge. That's what we liked about Larry Brown. The Pistons played defense before him, but it got a little bit nastier, a little bit grittier, a little bit dirtier when Larry Brown took over the reins. It wasn't just what he did to unlock Chauncey Billups as a player, and this is why We got Monty Williams up here right now. It's going to be, if he's the guy, if he's the coach, it's going to be on him to make sure that these players can take that next step and can understand and can be taught. You got to have these guys going out there and looking like they know what they're doing, because the defense, in my opinion, looked like it regressed this season more so than it did last season.
Which
and I thought they had more talent this year.
Which it shouldn't have.
It shouldn't have.
Like, that's what we need to see. I don't buy that any of these players are Killian Hayes, okay, bust.
Yeah.
But there's too much talent with these guys. Even if, hypothetical, even if Ivy's not the guy in Detroit, he's still talented. Like, he's a player that shouldn't look how he's looked or be used how he's be used, or the lack of use. Like, Asar Thompson, yes, he has some struggles offensively, but he's coordinated. It doesn't look ugly. He's just not there yet. Like, these are players that I think can truly develop into something. And that's now on Monty and this coaching staff. That's part of when we heard about him coming, and Jared Jack and now Vincent. Like this is, we need to see that now. If Monty is the guy, whether he gets, commitment for this full season upcoming, or does he start on the hot seat? I don't know. We better see development from the very start. Like, we need to see these guys getting better.
Yeah. And that's what, obviously a lot of the young guys are talking about, the exit interviews. Cade Cunningham was one of the ones really championing this, putting out there what his weaknesses were, what he knows he needs to improve on. Obviously, he said the turnovers, the ball handling, he needs to be a little bit tighter in defense. Those are the three things that he's focusing on, and he gets to go into this offseason with that being his only focus. Not recovering from injury, not rehabbing from a surgery, not resting all summer. This is the first summer of his NBA career where he's able to just go in, knowing now what the NBA is, knowing that he can perform in this NBA, and just do work. He can work out all summer to add to his game rather than just get back on the court. And that to me is that needs to be the theme of the Detroit Pistons. All of these guys work to get better this year. Everybody is going in healthy. Obviously, Simone Fontecchio is the only one that really had some type of a serious injury that required surgery, but he's going to be back in no time. Go out there and work to get better. I like what they have in Simone Fontecchio. More of those players, please. A lot more of those players. I like Asar Thompson, but he should be the only mold or archetype of player like that on this Pistons roster. When you start to have more than those guys on this team, it starts to make things a mess for Cade Cunningham, who needs the floor space. He don't need just shooters, but at least players that will cut. Y'all heard me cry and scream about that all season. Nobody cuts on this squad. Then you get a Simone Fontecchio, who does a lot of movement without the ball, and you saw the type of connection that he and Cade had instantly. When he is cutting, you see the type of connection and the type of way that the offense flows, and it's beautiful basketball for some small spurts.
Yeah.
For some small spurts. But
that's the way you create space, by if you lack certain shooting skills, like, you create space by cutting, by adjusting your offense with movement, which they have the guys to do. There was way too much standing around, especially with a guy like Cade, who's such an elite passer.
And absorbs the gravity. The whole entire defense, whether they are actually stepping to the middle or not, the defensive scouting report, y'all got to understand this, everybody has to keep an eye on Cade Cunningham. Because one pick and roll, and that guy, you look at his mid-range efficiency, Cade Cunningham can really hurt your team from the mid-range. I know that's weird to say in this era of NBA basketball, where the mid-range shot is supposed to be one of those ones that is like highly discouraged, one of the least efficient. But when Cade gets into that mid-range, whether it's him pulling up, or you guys already know it, that kind of pump fake hezzy, and then he gets all the way to the rack, or he can drop it off. He's deadly when he gets to that point. So defenses know everybody has to keep an eye, because it's not just a pick and roll guy. When they run a pick and roll with Cade Cunningham, the weak side defense has to be weary of the lob pass, so they have to step into the paint, or at least make sure they're covering. And then the guy that's strong side on Cade, they have to do what's called drop into the paint, because you got to stop penetration, and you got to force a kick out to the arc from Cade Cunningham. So it's like, you got to make sure that this guy has the types of players that will know. Don't just stand in the corner. We've seen a lot of players kind of live and die here, basically off of just standing in the corners. With a Simone Fontecchio, if he's strong side and this defender steps toward Cade, Simone Fontecchio's cutting back door for the easy layup, the easy dunk. We need more of that type of stuff. More rim runs, more dribble handoffs, more action cuts, more dives, more motions, and get the types of players in here that can execute that. Whether they're vets or not at this point in time, just get those types of players in here.